Hi, thanks for joining me today. My name is Gareth and I'm the Director of Ionic Creative Design, and we've put together this course to teach you everything that you might want to know about a website and try and help you navigate your way through all of the different builders that are out there, or how to talk to a developer and how to really be able to approach these situations knowledgeably so that you can get the best bang for your buck from your developer as well. So first things first, do I even need a website? It's the most common question I get asked from people and clients alike. And I always tell them, if this was 10 years ago, and the answer would just have been wholeheartedly, yes, just do it. You need your digital presence, and back then there was no other way really of doing it. Now the answer isn't so clear. So we live in the era where we have Facebook, we have Instagram. Facebook has brought in their Facebook shops, Facebook pages. You can have a booking system on your Facebook. Instagram will link with your shop as well. And these platforms are only going to grow and get better and help businesses in those sort of ways. You need to ask yourself, what more would a website offer me than the platforms that I already have? And ask yourself as well, the more important question, how much am I willing to pay for that? Now, we'll come on to this a little bit later, but I've started to tell clients that you need to think of your website like an employee. And like an employee, you need to sit down and think, what do I want my website to do for me? In aesthetics, for example, a website can be used to sell products that you may have in the store, or you can use it for your booking system. You could take deposits. You could integrate it with an external app which might do your record keeping. You could send consent forms out from there. All of those are extra features which then give you time back to be seeing people and to do other things and not have to worry about that. Automate those processes, give yourself that time back. That's what you need to be thinking about when you think about a website. A lot of those features you will not be able to get from the likes of a Facebook page, and that's when people do need to take that leap then to getting a proper website. So let's look at a website and let's look at the different building blocks that make up a website. So I always like to use the analogy of a house whenever I'm talking with clients. So first things first is, whenever you go to buy a house, and if you're building it from scratch yourself, you'll want to buy land. So the land in websites is called hosting, and hosting is essentially web space which is on a server, which will be managed usually by a private company. Now these companies have large server banks which we can pay for, and it's called shared hosting. Shared hosting is the most common form of website hosting out there, and is perfect for any small, medium-sized business. If you're a larger business or you want an exceptionally fast website, you may want to look at your own private server with one of these companies. I wouldn't recommend setting one up yourself, as it's going to be very costly and requires a lot of IT know-how. But there's cloud-based solutions out there if you do feel like you are a larger business and you want to have that little bit extra. The costs for website hosting ranges really from around £3 for very, very basic hosting, all the way up to £350 or more for cloud-based hosting. The average small business would expect to pay really between £100 to £200 for hosting. And if you're getting your hosting through a web developer, which is common, you'll find that your costs will be around that per annum. The next bit of it is the house itself, and the house sitting on the land is your website. And the website really reflects you and your business. It's a series of coding languages that really make up the building blocks of the website and then give you a visual appearance on a screen. It can vary in shapes, sizes, complexity, and really, if you can dream it, we can make it. And that's the key thing, is think about your business, think about what your website we want to portray, and go for that vision. The next part of a website is the domain, and the domain, really you want to think of it like your street name. So this tells somebody how to find your house. And domain names really vary from around £10 to £20 per annum, and they can be .com, .co.uk, Or you can go for a more specific country one. If you're, for example, in Ireland or in Europe, you can have .ie or .fr for France. If you are going for one of those, or a country-based one, you'll often be asked for proof that you reside in that country or that your business is from that country. Another question I commonly get asked is, should I buy both a .com and a .co.uk for my business? If you feel that you're going to have a lot of competitors that might use your trade name, you can buy those other addresses to stop them from collecting that as well. However, for most small businesses, medium businesses, focus on one, and down the line you could potentially add more. And if you are adding more, you only need one website. You can point multiple addresses to the same website. If you're wanting to look for if your website is, your domain name is available, you can use a simple search like Google Domains, and that'll tell you if the name has been taken or not. Don't be disheartened if it has been taken. Often if you put a hyphen in or you change something, you can find one that will fit your brand. And there are people out there who will just buy domain names up, which are catchy, and you often find that there isn't a website on there. It's a bit like private number plates, where somebody has bought that domain to resell it. I would avoid those because they can be very costly and cost upwards of £2,000 or even more just for the domain name. And when you compare that to £10 or £20 for putting a hyphen in, it's a no-brainer. So the next piece of the puzzle is you need somebody to build your house or your website. So in this case, the builder is put down as a CMS system. CMS stands for Content Management System. And this is often a visual builder, more commonly, where you can just click and drag boxes into a website and you can build it yourself. Common examples of this would be Shopify, Wix, GoDaddy, and you may have had experience of something like these. WordPress is another CMS, which is slightly more advanced, has a steeper learning curve, and we'll come on to that in a bit later. And disadvantages to this are, often if you're using a builder, you're quite limited to the design elements that you can put into it, and often everything is extra, and the costs soon start to mount as you go through your build. Where does a web designer come into all this? Think of a web designer as your project manager. They're going to take care of everything for you. They're going to look after the website, deal with the building, and they'll sort out your hosting and the domain name as well. Essentially, that frees up your time to go and do what you're good at and do your business well. They can offer maintenance packages that can support your business. That may include alterations, it may include backups, security, all of those things to give you peace of mind and keep your online business running. So let's look at the big three. So you've got Wix, Shopify, and GoDaddy. Now, if you've had a website before, it's likely that you've had one of these builders. And we'll go through them in turn. Each of them has their own advantages and disadvantages. And for small businesses, they are adequate. If you have any form of customization or you want to develop your website further, I would avoid these, and I would immediately think of going to a web developer who will be able to create something bespoke for you. A lot of Wix websites, Shopify websites, GoDaddy websites will look very similar, and that's because they use the same content management system compared to other things. So Wix, to start with, it's got a free plan, it's got a good content management system. It does have an advanced builder if you want to involve a developer, and there are developers out there that will specialize in Wix websites. A website alone will range from £3 to £18 a month. Businesses will start around 13 and go on up. Domains are included, but if you want email addresses, they're often extra, but they're provided from Gmail. Shopify is your classic e-commerce system, so if you want to have a shop, you go for Shopify. If you're wanting to go with one of these builders, they are more expensive because of the e-commerce nature, and they can range from $29 all the way up to $299 depending on how many products and how many features you need. The other thing you have to consider is there's a 2.2% purchase fee with 20p on top of that as well. That is standard through the e-commerce network. You find PayPal, Square, Stripe, they're all in around the 2.49%, and but their rates will decrease as your sales increase, whereas Shopify it's fixed. They do have a point of sale service, which is $89. So if you do have a physical presence and you sell things in store, you can link a Shopify to that, which is attractive, and emails in that are extra as well. GoDaddy, there's no free plan, so you can't try before you buy. Websites range from around $6.99 to $14.99, but you can get into e-commerce from around $20, and your domain is included. Their emails are provided by Microsoft, and to give you an example, they'll cost you around £70 per year. Whereas if you go with a build with a developer, emails, you can have as many email addresses as you want, and they're often included in your price. So let's touch on WordPress. So I'm a WordPress developer, and I use WordPress on all of my websites, and there's a reason for this. Over 70% of the world's websites are built with WordPress. It is by far the most versatile solution out there, and there are plugins for nearly every function that you can imagine for your business. And there are themes out there as well, which take a lot of the hassle out of building, and you can use things like Theme Forest, would be one recommendation. And you would just download your theme, upload it onto the site, and it gives you a skeletal structure that you can work with. You can change text boxes, change images, make it your own, but it takes a lot of the hassle out of that and expense. There is a steeper learning curve with WordPress, but there are a lot of YouTube videos out there, and if you are slightly tech savvy, WordPress is something which is free and you can try. You would just need to make sure you had your own hosting and your own domain, and then you can start with your WordPress build. There are visual builders out there. WordPress has one built in called Gutenberg. However, Elementor and Divi are the two big names in visual builders, and they essentially can just drag and drop, similar to your Wix builders and things like that, and build a website with ease. So let's talk about web designers. So web designers have, whenever they're quoting for a build, they'll often look at a build and think, right, well, how many hours is this likely going to take me to build? Am I going to have to provide hosting for this person? Do they require maintenance? Do they require some support? And will I be looking at adding any changes to this website for this person? So whenever you are approaching a developer or a designer, think about those before you have this conversation. So, do I need hosting? I would often say to people, go for the hosting with the developer, because often they can spread that cost of their shared hosting over multiple people. And you can control this yourself if you want. SiteGround is a very good resource, siteground.com, and there's often sales and things on there. They provide quite fast hosting. If you do have your own hosting, any developer can use it. So don't let them tell you that they can't. And depending on the build, really, that will really tell you where your price point's going to be. So we talk about scope and defining your scope. If the more defined and clear you are with what you want for your website, you'll probably find the cheaper the price. So if you're very specific, you know what you want, and you come across to the developer as somebody who's not going to give them a lot of extra work with changes and I don't like that and I don't like this. Be to the point, specific, and you'll find that the price will come down a bit. Maintenance, you need to think about maintenance, because websites are constantly being attacked from left, right and centre now. Some of the websites that I manage, I'm getting 40, 50 attacks in a 2-week period, and having an adequate security system is vital for your own business and for protect your customers as well. So you want to make sure that any maintenance will include security. You'll want backups, and make sure your backups are on a frequent basis. Once a week isn't going to cut it. So if you're making a lot of changes and things, make sure you've got something like a daily backup system on there. And you'll find that maintenance and support packages are a good way of getting a developer's time at a reduced rate, because they'll often bundle it into hours. So changes for your website. If you're somebody who is going to be making a lot of changes and you don't want to make those changes yourself, negotiate that with your developer and see if they'll give you a package of, say, 5 hours, 10 hours a month that they'll make those changes for you. And if not, you can make sure that you try and factor in some training then from your developer so that they can hand it over to you in a state that you'll know how to do things. And certainly when I'm working with clients, that's what I like to do. I like to give them an hour or two on Zoom and talk them through how you can change a text box, how to change an image. And I always like to say, if you're backing the website up on a daily basis, it's very hard to break your website from the access a developer gives you. So don't be afraid of your website. Get stuck in, try and make those changes yourself, and ultimately you'll save yourself some money. So your key to a successful build, and I cannot stress this enough, plan, plan, and plan again. Focus on what content you want, the features you want, and your scope. Find other websites that you like the look of, and then don't copy them, but take inspiration. A bit like if you were going to plan a wedding or something, and you might have a Pinterest board that has lots of different pictures of, say, floral bouquets and things like that. Build your own sort of idea of, I like this website, I like this website, and send that to your developer, because that gives them inspiration. That can let them see what your tastes are and things like that. Think of a color scheme that works for your logo and your brand as well. And throughout your website, make sure that your brand ethos and your brand message is coming across. Also think about what voice you're going to use. So whenever you're talking to your clients, you think about how that comes across on your website, and use a voice that's going to be appropriate for your clients. And be realistic. The more complexities that you add to a website, the more it's going to cost. So I often say to people, start with a minimally viable product, and then once you see your website's working for you, you can add features on at a later stage. And that's the joy of a builder like WordPress, where you can just add in certain plugins down the line. Most WordPress websites you can add an e-commerce system to, you can add booking systems to, all from a click of a button. And if you're tech savvy, you'll be able to do that yourself as well. Think about your ongoing costs. Will I need support? Will I need changes? And watch out for hidden charges with some of your builders. And there are other people in the web design sectors that are called copywriters. Now, a copywriter is somebody who is an expert in writing content for websites, blogs, anything like that. And you can hire these people to come in and overhaul your website or help out your web developer in providing something catchy that's going to capture your clients and capture the imagination and try and improve your bookings and sales. So look out for copywriting services, and also look for web design specialists in your sector. So at Ionic, we specialize in healthcare, aesthetics, and that is our domain. That's what we work with. And that comes from our background in healthcare and aesthetics. There will be people out there that are engineering specialists, restaurant specialists, and to try and find somebody in your field who knows your sector and knows what it is that you'll be expecting from your web build. So in summary, define your scope and stick to it. Plan, plan, and plan ahead. Prepare your content and have a plan for your website before you launch into it. And always remember who your audience are and how you want to connect with them and how you're going to develop that content. Is it going to be video? Is it going to be text? Or what you're going to use? If you have a really good Instagram, are you going to get that embedded into your home screen? So think about all those things when you're developing content. And I just want to leave you one final thought, and it's this bit at the bottom here. It's that we've all had DIY disasters in our time, and we know the benefit of just getting a tradesman in. Websites are exactly the same. If you don't have the time to build one, or you feel like you maybe need a little bit of extra help, get a designer in early, and don't be tempted with one of these other builders, because you'll find that you'll spend months and months of time trying to learn how to use the builder, and you'll just not get your return back on them, and you'll end up having to go down the route of getting the developer in. So if you're not confident, if you feel like you're not going to have the time, get a developer in early, and in the long run you will save yourself money and you'll have a better product that you'll be happy with. So that's everything, folks, for this module. I hope you've enjoyed the content. If you've got any questions, my email address is there. It's gareth@ioniccreativedesign.com, and I'd love your feedback, questions, and I hope to see you on the next round. Thanks very much.